Sam Haskell, executive producer of Code of Many Colors. Sam, what made you want to be part of this project?
Well, Dolly Parton has been my friend for over 30 years, so I've known about Coat of Many Colors since it came out. I was a big fan of hers before I met her, and obviously I love her as a quasi-family member today. She's like Aunt Dolly to my children, and she and I were talking about a year ago about some things we might do together in television. I was her agent for about 10 years at the William Morris Agency, and I retired about 9 years ago to do other things, and one of those became making a deal at Warner Brothers to develop television for them. And when she found out about that, she wanted to sit and talk about what we might do together. And we started talking about different things that made sense to us, and one of them was something that the networks really aren't doing, and that's 2-hour movies with really strong stories of faith and inspiration. So we sat down with our mutual friend Bob Greenblatt, the president of NBC, and we said we'd like to do some 2-hour movies, and his eyes kind of lit up. And we want them to be based on Dolly's music because all her music tells a story. And he said, you know what? I love this, but the first one has to be Coat of Many Colors. And Dolly and I looked at each other, winked, and said, you got it. And a year later, here we are, and it's going on the air this Thursday night at 8 Central.
It's an awesome film, and I enjoyed it. It's weird being a city kid and like loving the country vibe, so it was awesome. Can I ask you, how much of a role, besides her story, did Dolly play in the actual development of this film?
Dolly was involved with me every step of the way. She approved all the scripts, she approved the cast, particularly those kids playing her siblings, and really little Dolly. It was really important that we find the right little actress to play Dolly. She's in 75% of the movie, and we saw over 200 little girls trying to figure that out. And when Olivia Allen Lynn walked in, I thought, oh, please let her be able to act, because she looked just like her, and then she could. And I said, oh, please let her be able to sing, because she has to sing too. Dolly was quite the singer at age 9. And then she sang, and I thought, I've got to get a film of her to Dolly right away. When Dolly saw it, she cried. Flew in, we brought 3 little girls back to test for the network in the studio, and Olivia Allen Lynn got it, just as I had hoped and predicted, and she is going to be a huge star after this. I hope I honestly live long enough to see what happens to that little girl.
That's great. She was amazing, and she had so much spunk. It just reminded me of Dolly. So this movie, you said faith-themed and things like what do you hope that the viewers will get from this film?
I believe that especially today, people are looking for something positive to hold on to. There's a lot of negative in our world, and I think that a movie that's a form of entertainment that can bring families together, whether you're 5-year-old or 75-year-old, you can enjoy the messaging in this movie. And it's all about hope and faith and making dreams reality. And I think that's something that we all want. I believe that ultimately everyone wants to do something that's good. But sometimes we don't have an infrastructure to do that. But if you provide the infrastructure and people can come to the table together, they will do something good. That's what happened with this cast and this crew on Coat of Many Colors. We provided an infrastructure for people to step up and do something incredibly special. And every single viewer out there who watches this movie is going to be touched. And I have to warn you, everyone needs to get a box of Kleenex because it's a 3-hanky tearjerker.
The part at the end when she jumps in and young Dolly jumps in and she says, I've got a word, and she stops the bully, that killed it for me. I loved it. What other projects are you working on kind of in that same framework of trying to build that infrastructure?
Well, we're working with a writer named John Tinker who wrote Chicago Hope, and his wife, Rhonda Rich, who's a best-selling writer, on a version of The Seeker, which is one of Dolly's, inspirational songs. And we're also working, it's not quite as inspirational, but we're also working with the writer of West Wing and China Beach. And his name is John Sacred Young. We're working on a version of Jolene. So that's one of Dolly's other big hits.
No kidding. That's awesome. I love that song. What role does faith play in your life?
Well, I am a Christian. I was raised in the Baptist Church in Amory, Mississippi. My wife was Presbyterian, so that when we got married, she wanted me to become a Presbyterian. So I called my mother and my aunt, and I said, well, tomorrow you're going to hear in the First Baptist Church that I'm moving my letter from First Baptist Church of Amory, Mississippi to the Bel Air Presbyterian Church in Los Angeles. And there was silence. And they said, well, you may think you're about to become a Presbyterian, but in your heart, you'll always be a Baptist. So religion has been a very important part of my life and Dolly's. And we have prayed over this project, and we prayed over the casting. And I really feel like God had a hand in bringing us Jennifer Nettles and Ricky Schroeder. Ricky Schroeder was my client when he was 8 years old at the William Morris Agency. I was there for almost 30 years, and he was my client when he did The Champ with John Voight. And Gerald McCraney, who plays the grandfather, has been my friend for 35 years. We graduated from Ole Miss together back in the day in Oxford, Mississippi. So I feel like there are blessings surrounding this entire project. And my daughter, Mary Lane, plays Dolly's school teacher, Miss Tallulah Moody. Dolly has loved her since she was a baby, and she said, you've always reminded me of my elementary school teacher. I want Mary Lane. And Mary Lane graduated from NYU, the Tisch School here in New York, and has had a great deal of experience with Law and Order SVU and Scandal and shows like that. And so she's playing this very well-educated country school teacher, and she just knocks it out of the park. So I'm doubly proud.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.